It's time for breaking bread with Papa. Hey, don't you know? Hey, it's our goal. Hey, it's time for breaking bread with Papa. Hey, don't you know? Hey, it's also a show.
Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of Breaking Bread with Tom Papa. I am Tom Papa. You are my guests. Here at the table, we're going to welcome the Sklar Brothers to the program today. Very, very funny comedians. I'm sure you know who they are. If you're comedy fans and listen to this podcast, I'm sure you know them. They're so funny. I've known them pretty much our whole careers. We've been in the same, kind of moving along. Maybe I started a little before them. I'm not too sure, but known them forever. New York, LA, hilarious. And I say in the middle of the podcast to Jason and Randy, I just feel like you guys continue to get better, and that is no joke. They always improve. They were on Live From Here with me, the previous, the new version of Prairie Home Companion, which I was a part of for a while. And they came on and just knocked it out of the park. Joey, did you just drop your coffee? Joey's in the studio today, and he's causing problems. They are so damn funny. I'm so happy to bring this conversation with them to you. Also, we would like to thank the good people at Helix Sleep. Helix Sleep. Okay, so we really love Helix Sleep. I sleep on Helix Sleep mattress. Take their 2-minute sleep quiz, and they'll match you to a mattress that will give you the best sleep of your life. We ditched our old mattress. We took the sleep quiz. My wife and I, we both have different needs and desires and likes and dislikes about our sleep experience and a mattress. And they came back with a custom mattress that has just improved our lives. It's great. This is one of the only times, honestly, where when I'm on the road, I'm thinking about my mattress at home. It was always the other way around. I was always at home like, oh, I can't wait till I go to a nice hotel so I can actually sleep in something decent. I know all of you are sleeping on some saggy old mattresses at night, and you deserve better than that. So give yourself an upgrade. Find your perfect mattress at helixsleep.com/Papa, P-A-P-A. And we would like to thank the good people at moinkbox.com. That's moinkbox.com. The best bacon, the best steak, the best chicken you'll ever eat won't come from the grocery store. You'll only find it on the family farm. That's why you need moinkbox.com. Equality meat and support family farms. This is very exciting. They're sending me some. I can't wait to get it. Go to moinkbox.com/Papa, P-A-P-A. Listen to this. To get a year of bacon for free and pick what meats you want delivered with your first box. Yeah, let me say that again. moinkbox.com/Papa, P-A-P-A, for a year of free bacon when you sign up. Come on. Moink delivers grass-fed and grass-finished beef and lamb, pasteurized pork and chicken direct to your door, helping family farms become financially independent outside of big agriculture. Why do 4 companies control 80% of the U.S. meat industry? Because big food crushes the little guy. You can help change that when you sign up at moinkbox.com. Stop arguing with your friends about politics and do something. Join the Moink movement and save the family farm. Their animals are raised in great outdoors, and Moink meat is free of antibiotics, hormones, sugar, and all the other junk that you find in prepackaged meat aisle. Sign up at moinkbox.com/Papa, P-A-P-A, to get a year of bacon for free, and then pick what meats you want delivered with your first box. Change what you eat each month, and you can cancel at any time. They guarantee that you'll say, oink, oink, I'm just so happy I got moinked. Let me read that again. Oink, oink, I'm just so happy I got moinked. So join the Moink movement today. Go to moinkbox.com/Papa, P-A-P-A, right now, and you get free bacon for a year. Very cool. I mean, anything that breaks out of the giant factory farms and gives you good, high-quality meat, we are all about it. That's Moink, Moink. So we have the Sklar Brothers coming up, and then we're also going to grab a quick bite with comedian and author Andrew Heaton. Very funny. He has a book called Los Angeles is Hideous, Poems About an Ugly City. I really want to get to the bottom of that. I've never met him before, but we're going to give him a phone call, and anybody that's funny and shits on LA like that right off the bat, I think we're going to get along with him just fine. So we'll grab that quick bite with Andrew in a little bit. The Sklar Brothers, Scarborough Country, and Dumb People Town. Dumb People Town's so funny. I was a guest on that one. Great podcast, great comedians. I have such a great conversation with them. They grew up in St. Louis, and they paint a picture of, I don't know how to describe it completely. Have you ever seen A Christmas Story, that kind of Americana, blue collar, early days? I mean, it's not that, but it is that. They didn't grow up in the 40s. They didn't grow up in the 50s. They're late 70s, 80s kids. But the picture they paint, I think, just coming from a Jewish community within a city that loved family and food and connection. You'll see when they start going into it, talking about what they were fed and how they were raised and how their parents met is a classic story. And it just paints this warm, it evokes those feelings of like A Christmas Story and that's early Americana. It just shows that it's not bound to generation, it's bound to spirit. And what they share was really great. I've known them for a long time, but to be able to hear their stories and hear the ins and outs of their family and how food tied into it all is just, it gave me a better understanding and appreciation of not only them, but our friendship. And you're really going to enjoy it. I guarantee you. It's funny because a lot of the stories and the foods that they bring up, I was raised in northern New Jersey, and we had a very large Jewish community portion of our school, and all my girlfriends in grade school and high school, or junior high, I wasn't really dating that much in grade school, were Jewish. So I would end up going to the Seders and going over for family dinners, and it was very similar to the experiences that I had growing up in big Italian family. It was a lot of the same dynamics with the mothers and the fathers and the grandparents. The food, of course, was slightly different, but the experience and the sitting around the table and the laughter and all of that love was very, very similar. And I think that's why I really enjoyed talking to them. It just kind of brought back a lot of those memories and stuff. I will say this in all candor. If you're comparing those two cultures, we're going to have to give a nod to the Italians on the cuisine. I don't think that's a big surprise. There's a lot of great stuff in the Jewish culture, food-wise, but you're up against the Italians. And look, we're not making this a fight, but we're just pointing out the differences between them. But I will also give a nod to the Jewish families because the conversations are a little better. They're funnier. They're just more quick-witted. They're just you've got it. The Italians have got their mouths stuffed with food and getting some good laughs and big boisterous characters and stuff. But as far as just straight fastball down the middle, this is going to be a great conversation, and it's just smart and snap to it. Sitting around those tables of my Jewish girlfriend's families was, as a young budding comedian as a kid, I knew I was dealing with something else here. There was they're funnier. They're funnier. There it is. I just said it. Sorry, my Italian friends. You're funny for a different way, but you get what I'm saying. So food for you people, humor for the others. Great combination. A lot of overlap, and you're really going to enjoy this one with Jason and Randy Sklar, two of my favorite people. Enjoy. What'd you eat today?
Sweet so we guest hosted Jim Rome's radio and TV show, which meant
nice.
We had to wake up. I had to wake up at like 6:30, hop in a car and drive 45 miles down to.
We can't really reveal
where it is, but we had to drive to a place and
that's far from us,
which is a TV studio and a radio studio. So I didn't get to do. Normally, I drink a cup of coffee in the morning, and then I have a little something like late morning.
Right.
I kind of wait and don't have anything. So this morning they get us coffee when we're there, which is really nice. So I had like a iced coffee when I was there.
Nice.
I came back up. I ate some Circle crackers from Trader Joe's.
Stale. I ate them too. They were stale.
One piece of Munster cheese, and then I had in a hot dog bun a turkey sandwich from yesterday in Lake Tahoe when we were up there with the family to drive home. So it was like the sandwich we were supposed to eat in the car, and I ate it on the way here.
Do you want? Okay, so what Randy just described is a terribly sad. Like that's like the final meal someone has before they hang themselves, right? I'm gonna make it sadder.
Yeah.
I went to the same place and did the same thing.
Yeah.
I had Jenny Craig cinnamon rolls because I'm trying to be on Jenny Craig and lose weight. So
really?
They're breakfast cinnamon rolls, which
they're good. I hate to say it.
They're pretty good. They
They're
approximate what a cinnamon. It's not Cinnabon. It's not like the thing that you really love, but it's
like Cinnabone.
Yeah.
Simulation.
Like if someone has like
it's Cinna barely. It's Cinna barely.
Right, like buns are like a beautiful, like you're saying like, ooh, he's got a nice set of buns, or she's got a nice set of buns.
Fleshy.
Yeah, they're like, there's something to hold on to.
These are like
imagine a bony ass,
like a little medallion. And so I had.
Is it that big? It's like
like
a quarter.
Yeah, they're like, enjoy this tiny portion that no human would ever eat. So so I had that, and then I had a handful of stale crackers.
And then he hung himself.
And I'm like ready. So I'm like, what can I attach my belt to?
These are pretty rough.
How tight
but this is working. This is working day food. This is
working day food, and we just
man, it's like you're back at it, like 6 o'clock in the morning. It's like
this is
the river started roaring again.
I'm not in control of what. I wasn't, so if you are on a crazy work day, as you know, our days are just nuts.
Yeah.
If you're on a work day, you're on a set.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, you got to get up at 5:30 because your call's at 6:15. You got to be in the chair at this time and that time. You're thinking, what are my lines? What is the scene?
Yeah.
What do I have to prep for? How do I get ready for this? And you're like thinking in your mind. You're not thinking like, what's my breakfast? What's my lunch? How am I going to do? No, I'm going to walk over to the craft service and eat 15 Fig Newtons and call it a day.
So if you're home, it sounds like you're similar to me. You'll do like a cup of coffee with no food and just kind of chill with that to
chill
start.
With that till like late morning, where then if there's something, I mean, again, I did Jenny Craig with him.
So if you're we're your aunt, by the way. We're doing Jenny Craig.
Why Jenny Craig?
Because
our cousin and her husband both lost like 35 pounds on it,
and they had the most frank, honest, I'm not going to sell you on this thing. This is why it works. Conversation with us. And I was like, all right, let's try it.
Really?
They're like, you can do it. That's what they kept on saying is you can do it. And I was like, I don't know. And they're like, no, you can do it.
Because food for us, for the Jews, and also just for us,
for these two Jews,
is our alcohol. It is the drug of choice for the Jewish people.
Right. It's so funny you say it, and I'm sorry to interrupt you,
please.
But I have wine here all the time.
Yeah.
And I was saying to Aaron, my producer, I was like, we haven't had wine with anyone in a long time. No one really drinks wine.
You're only
and we're always
Jews.
A lot of times we come in the middle of the day. A lot of Jews. And then I was thinking this morning, I was like, oh yeah, we're probably not going to drink. I'm going to ask them why the Jewish people don't really drink. Because I grew up with all Jews. All my girlfriends were Jewish, and a lot of my great friends are Jewish, and not big drinkers. They're all about the sweets.
Sweets and food. Like that to me is more enjoyable.
Like if you told me, hey, Jason, you are not allowed to take another drink for the rest of your life. That's just a fact from now on.
Yeah.
I would say, okay, that'll be tough maybe on those like post Friday night shows on the road, post show 2. I know I get to sleep in the next day. I want a beer. Fine.
Right.
but I can live with that. If you told me, hey, you don't get to eat potato chips anymore,
I would be
I would
turning over
lose it.
tables and like
Yeah.
just so mad. Yeah, kicking people, punching people. Like, don't take that away.
I'd
Don't
be
take
like,
my baby away from me.
I'd be like hangry, even though I've just eaten, like angry, hungry.
Yeah.
Those things,
Yeah.
they make you I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to sort of I was at a friend of my daughter's parents who we kind of just are, because you do that when they're really young, but we haven't really done it a lot recently. But there's these twin girls that are friends with my youngest daughter, so they're all about 14.
Okay.
And the parents are really cool and they're super nice, and they just live in a different part of town than us, and so. We're over at their house, and he was drinking like a bourbon or he was drinking a scotch.
Right.
And I was like, I never do that. I never ever do it. I was like, how is that? Is that like, is it super? I mean, I'm going to feel like I'm drinking like rubbing alcohol. Like, talk to me about this. He's like, no, it's actually pretty good. And I'm going to drop a huge ice cube in it. I'm going to pour just this much in it. And I was like, treat me like a baby who's never had it. Like, how you give a baby whiskey?
But then there's also a moment where you're like, wait, you're watering it down. You're doing everything you can to try and take the actual taste of this thing out.
But there was so the ice eventually melted in it, and there was like a process to it, and it was almost like, not that I'm not a smoker. I don't never really smoke cigarettes. We had to do it like a little bit for some TV shows and stuff, and it was like really hard to do.
Yeah.
I've smoked cigars in my day, and like there was I don't love that, but there is a process to smoking a cigar, and a good Montecristo number 2 from Cuba is just like sublimely great. And it's just the process is great.
The ritual.
I enjoyed the ritual of this thing, and over the night I just nursed this small thing, and it actually was good. I was like, well, okay, maybe this will be a thing, like a new thing for me, or I'll try that.
Those are grown-up pursuits. Like, that is a grown-up way to do it, and you just have the one, and it's like a little bit of a thing.
It was nice.
Yeah.
The whole thing was, I kind of got into the whole thing of it. Like my kids are like, why? My kids are at the age where they're starting to where people are drinking. And they're like, why do you do it? Why do you do it? Does it taste good? I'm like,
no.
We were at a Mexican restaurant. My family and I took like a RV trip around Colorado.
Oh, beautiful.
Utah. Don't ever do that. Do not ever take an RV trip.
Oh, really?
I took it for you, so don't do it. Empty the septic pump once, and you're like, why am I suddenly working?
I didn't know I was suddenly going to take a job in sanitation.
Yeah, why am I
2
suddenly
weeks.
working for the city? Okay, and so it was just awful. But so we were at a Mexican restaurant, and I had a huge frozen margarita, and my 16-year-old, and I was like, here, just try this, just so you can see what it tastes like, because I'm like, I'd rather you do it in front of me, and I'd rather we talk about what it tastes like than And she's like, yeah, it's just not my thing. I was like, he's like, it's not great. I'd rather have a one that doesn't have any of that stuff in it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, it just tastes better.
So great. I had the same thing with my daughter who came back from college.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, oh, she's back. This is so exciting. She's a freshman. And I'm like, I'm cooking, and I open up a bottle of wine. Would you like some? She goes, no, I don't really like wine. I'm like, and my wife's like, you don't drink at school? No. I was like, wow, that's pretty great.
Yeah, it's crazy.
She goes, I just smoke weed.
Oh,
Hey. And then we find out it's been happening since she was like a sophomore.
Yeah. Wow.
Straight A student, like stud.
She can handle her weed.
But weed, I think, is kind of becoming the drinking of this generation.
Yeah,
That's right.
Which is better, actually.
Better
kind of
because-
is. You're more in control. No one gets
Right.
into a fight when they're on weed.
It's the
No
truth.
one suddenly is like, I need to go dive into that pool on weed.
Right, exactly. My favorite Instagram account, I think I've seen you guys like stuff on it, drunk people doing things.
Oh my God. It's just...
It's a gold mine.
Well, it's like
It's
Dumb
like
People
Dumb-
Town.
it's
You
like
know,
our
you've been on our
podcast,
podcast, Dumb People Town. It's like, this is where the dumb stuff happens. It's like...
What's the blood alcohol level?
Like,
Add
you have the
alcohol.
idea, and alcohol says you can do it.
Yes.
Alcohol's like, go for it.
Yeah, man, you got
Why
this.
not? You should try it.
Yeah.
And
go
weed
for
is
it.
like, let's watch that guy do it.
Yeah, weed is like, what?
That'll be fun.
We don't need to be a part of it. We'll sit back here and you're like...
I want a show right now.
Yeah.
It is kind of interesting to think about like that, how alcohol and food combine too, like what alcohol does to your desire to like eat stuff. Because I think about how we, it invites you to eat the crappy thing late,
Yeah.
right?
I'm sorry, I'm too distracted. I'm just flashing to, because you said drinking, the best Instagram post of the entire last year and a half was the two of you at that bar mitzvah.
Oh my God.
Or bat mitzvah. I don't know.
Bat mitzvah.
It
Our
was a
friend
bat
Mindy Stein. Yeah.
I'm telling you,
We were not drunk.
That you weren't drunk, but you looked like little. And it's funny, like when you talk
Mafiosos.
about the rituals of drinking,
Oh, God.
that's like how we like. Of course, as entertainers, you're like, I don't really like it, but if I could play the role of a guy drinking scotch,
Right,
like,
I would.
That's cool. If I could be the guy with the cigar, like sitting having. A
We were
conversation.
that at
That's what-
13.
You were that at 13. I watched that 100
suits.
times.
I know.
Our voices sounded so weird.
Minnie Stein. Thank you for
Thanks for having us at this facility. I'm like, who am I? Like, I was like,
I'm like, hey, it's me. I'm the better half. And then some girl sitting down there. I was like, it's all right. You'll get it someday.
Just for our listeners, it's they're passing they're taking the VCR around and they're recording the bar mitzvah.
a message to the bat mitzvah girl, and we hijacked it and turned it into like a stand-up set.
You literally did, and
was
you're
so
you are
stupid.
so. You are so yourselves, and you're so not yourselves. You're the seeds of yourselves.
That's right, the
You're
seeds.
doing
What a-
shtick. You're like you're confident, but then there's also one of you. I forget which one made a joke. It didn't really land, and you walked away like I could see in your head, like, "Damn it, I should have said."
I gotta rework that. I gotta rework that.
Yes, and we weren't working together. We were all on our own roads. But like John Levinstein, who's such a great writer, he wrote on Arrested Development. He's
Yeah.
written on a bunch of stuff. He's just really talented. He was
Yeah.
like, where is this confidence coming from? And I'm like, that's both a compliment and a
insult.
cut down at
Yeah.
the same time.
Like, you
He's
shouldn't have this much
He's
confidence.
right. We shouldn't have had that much confidence. I don't know what we
It
were.
was just because it was just that
Camera
was-
turned on, mic went on, and we were like, this
let's
is our
do it.
chance to
Let's
play.
start dancing.
I loved it. It was so great, and I showed Cynthia, my wife Cynthia, because
Yeah.
she knows you guys,
Yeah.
and it was like. She had the same thing. It's like looking at like your loved one's baby pictures or something.
right.
You're just like, look at them. They're doing it. They already have an act.
But also like
and you're dressed like a dog.
I know.
because we're in suits, 3-piece suits, vests. But the thing of it is there's not a lot, because we're around the same age. There's not a lot of video footage of all of us
know.
at that age.
You can't go
So
back to
rare.
our Instagram
Like I heard my
feed.
voice there, and I was like shocked.
Right.
Our accents were even weird. They were like
weird.
super St. Louis-y
Super St. Louis.
and weird, and like we were like Teamsters. It was like,
It was what a gift. What a gift. It was
dumb.
so great.
thank you for
So
that.
who did all the cooking in St. Louis when you were growing up?
It was a mix between our mom and our
Our
dad.
dad
Our
would
dad
cook.
cooked a lot.
Yeah.
He loved to cook. So he would love to cook like big ticket items.
Oh,
like
yeah.
he would make like a Cornish hen.
Right.
He would make like the turkey, and he had the electric knife to carve it, and he would love to make the grill.
And he was
stuff.
a bigger guy, so like you'd hear the electric knife in the other room as we're watching like the Macy's Day, like it's going through there. Not Macy's Day, it's later in the whatever football games in the afternoon, and you knew that like half of it would be on the plate and half of it
he would be
just
tasting
eating.
Just here chewing.
right along the way.
So he would make that, and he used to make like salami and eggs, which he would make it for like in the morning,
so
which
good.
was just
Really?
great. Just like a piece of salami on the thing, and then eggs, and it was just like.
And then
he would make it for you, and he'd lay it down for us, and he'd be
And
like,
he's like, that's a $4.99.
"There's a $5 breakfast,
$5 breakfast.
$5 breakfast for you right there." This is great. He was.
Where did he
hilarious dude.
grow up?
He grew up in St. Louis.
Oh,
Grew
he
up in
did.
St. Louis, and so.
And his dad owned a poultry shop for a while. Like they were like a butcher. They sold
Oh, really?
people their meats in town, and then they owned a grocery store. And so he was always around food and kind
Right.
of knew the ins and outs of like making a brisket and making a
Right.
few things like that. So he could do that. And then they also would make like Jewish food. There were some amazing Jewish dishes. Like there was a Jewish dish called grievanus, which is
heard of that.
fried
Chicken fat.
fat.
Fried chicken fat. So you fry it, and it gets like super crispy.
Dark and crispy, and it's all these little like nuggets of this chicken fat, and they would be always on a paper towel because they'd try and drain some of the grease so they wouldn't murder you. Like,
And it like would
But
just
it's all grease.
seep through the countertops.
all
and
grease.
stuff.
And our dad would be like, "There's grievanus," and we'd like be running from wherever we were.
And just
He would make Russell, which was like a very thick
split piece
soup kind of a thing, a Jewish
Really?
soup. And they would also make fried matzah, which was
They each made it different ways. Like mom made it much more like it was like all
one
one
piece.
piece, and you flip the whole thing over like almost like a giant omelet. So it's matzah that you wet the boards,
Right.
And usually like egg and onion or garlic matzah
Right.
was always the better one. So you wet the boards, you get them nice and wet. Then you put them, you crack a couple eggs and into a bowl,
and you beat the eggs, and then you crumble up the matzah into the eggs and mix it around. So the eggs is just basically it's an egg matzah soup.
Right.
Lots of butter on the pan, and then you pour it in, and you let it. She would let it become
one
omelet, so to speak, and then take the
Right.
whole thing and flip it over, and if it would get like dark and gold, like
man.
brown
Crispy,
and crispy,
so
and so
good.
good.
Great.
She put a little more butter on top. It was so good. And our dad would make it more like scrambled eggs. So like he had all the they all did start out the same, but then he would kind of
constantly be messing with it.
Right,
So it was
right.
mom's versus dad's. Dad's was a little less crispy, and we always loved mom's because it was just like it was like the right amount of crunch.
So
on all that
good.
stuff.
Sounds
She
so
was not a
great.
great cook otherwise. Made a few things really well. I mean, she always told the story of when she made matzo balls for our dad's mom and her parents for the first time. She cooked for them, and she made them all the size that she thought that they would be. So like she rolled it up, and it's like the size of a fist. You know, you make matzo ball, and that's how it appears.
But no one told her that you have to start them like this big, and they'll grow to be
the
what they
water
are.
expands them. So like she came back in, and like the pot was overflowing,
It's like
larger than
basketballs.
this. It was like huge, and she would just like. So she made those mistakes
That's
while
great.
she cooked. But
If you added eggs to that matzah, is that matzah brie pretty much?
So matzah brie, we called it fried matzah, but that's what it is.
Right.
So that is same thing. That's what it's
Right.
called. But you know, it's funny because I've seen it at restaurants,
Yeah.
and at delis and stuff like that.
Yeah.
No one makes it better than our mom and dad did.
No,
Nobody.
there's
Nobody
those
even
things
close.
that like if they fed you, there's just no competing with it. I bake a ton of bread, and I started making challah, and forget it. I can only make Christians happy with it.
Yeah.
because they have no idea. And you show your Jewish friends, they're like, yeah, it's good. It's good. That's
No,
good.
there
But
are
mom made it or grandma made it.
I'm going
in
to
a
say something
certain
right
way.
now. I'm going to say something right now that'll shock people. Trader Joe's has a good challah.
Really?
It's sweet and soft. Those are the two things you need. Eggy, sweet, and soft. That's what you want.
So like
Yeah,
it really
the sweet.
The
a little bit of sugar
drier
in
it
there.
is, the worse it is.
The flake- you don't wanna make a flaky challah. You
I
want
like
it
a
to
little
be-
weight to it. You know what I mean? That's me, but that's
You
me.
want it to be a little doughy and a little bit like and
Right.
soft.
A little spungy.
Yeah.
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 The sweet, it's funny. You can tell a lot of people went heavy on the sugar without
Yeah.
telling their family.
That's it. It's like, why is this so good? Why do I want to eat the whole thing? Well, because I poured a cup of sugar in there.
When you talk about like the poultry shop and your family and
Yeah.
stuff, it like conjures up like an old timey neighborhoody St. Louis. Like it sounds
dad-
like like Brooklyn.
Yeah, it was. So
Kinda
our
was.
dad grew up around Washington University in an area called University City, and for those kids growing up at that time in the 50s, like they had all of them, and by the way, all those people who grew up with him were the parents of our friends who moved out west. So imagine St. Louis starts on the river and everything kind of works west from there. So you have the city, and then you kind of have St. Louis University, which is closer to the city. Then you move out a little bit further west, and you've got University City, which is Wash U, and Forest Park, which is, you know, kind of a big like Central Park type of thing. And then you start to move west, and further west is Ladue and Clayton, which are nice suburbs. And, you know, like the Helium Club is kind of right around Clayton, right there in that mall. And then you go further out, and that's Creve Coeur, which is where we lived, which was even the west suburbs, and you just keep going further.
Got it.
And it kept expanding out there. But our dad lived in University City, and all the people who are then became parents of our, you know, of our kids, they all grew up together. There was like a hamburger place, like 1950s, called Hamburger Heaven, and they just called it H. And they would all like go to H on Friday night, and they would all hang out. And
It was very much like Grease or like
American
Back to the
Graffiti.
Future,
Right.
American Graffiti, and like,
Right.
and it was like that. It was
Yeah,
like you
it was
walked
really
around
like
and you
that.
knew the butcher and you knew these guys and those. Everyone knew each other and they opened their house.
especially the Jews, because it was a smaller, tight knit Jewish community there in St.
right.
Louis.
Oh, not that many.
Well, there
Not
were
huge, but-
pockets. There were St. Louis was a weird. St. Louis remains like a super segregated city, which is super sad for that city because it has everything. It's just super. It's like everything is segmented, but. There's a massive Italian community in St. Louis.
Right.
There's an area called the Hill that has tremendous Italian
yeah.
restaurants, like amazing. And
Wow.
toasted ravioli. That's
Right.
a St. Louis dish.
Delicacy.
Right.
They took ravioli, which is already, and filled it with meat. Fry it, bread it, and fry it.
Nice.
Then put Parmesan cheese on top of that, and then you dip it into a bowl of meat sauce with cheese on top of it.
Oh my god.
Incredible.
I mean, and then there are gourmet places in St. Louis like Salt and Smoke, which is a barbecue place that fills toasted ravioli with like burnt end.
Oh my God.
Barbecue.
It's just like brilliant.
So when you look at the Jenny Craig menu, how many times do you get that?
You don't get it as much as you want. No, Jenny Craig would give you like half of one of those.
one, and they're like,
Scratch
enjoy.
and sniff.
Right? Like you get to smell it.
I'm like,
and then-
ravioli is plural. It's like, I guess, one raviolus. A raviolus. I had one raviolus.
but yeah.
Man, it's like, and did they meet there? Did they meet in like school? Your
Our
parents?
met in
is such a
and this
great-
is and it was because of and food brought them together. It was
Oh,
so
yeah.
cool. My dad was able to do, but like they met in Cincinnati. My mom was from Canton, Ohio.
Went to Ohio State.
Okay.
Our dad was St. Louis and went to Washington University at night because he worked during the days to pay for himself to go through school. And then my mom got a job in Cincinnati because that was the big city that wasn't Cleveland in Ohio. And our
Right.
dad got a job in
He was working at a place like a Dunder Mifflin place in St. Louis called Tension Envelope.
Oh, yeah.
So it wasn't like Mark Tension or like Dave
I'm like,
Tension.
why would you put tension in the name of your office?
Go to a place of just, where are you going? I'm going to Tension. Like, I'm going to lose
Aren't
my
they
brain.
aren't they, do I know them?
It's possible. Yeah. They were around.
They
and
were a paper
Midwest
company,
place.
and he would sell paper and envelopes and stuff to people, kind of like Dunder Mifflin.
literally
It's
is
the
Dunder
office.
Mifflin.
It's literally the office, but he got a job or
They got transferred
in
to-
Cincinnati, and he needed. Or I guess my mom needed a roommate, and she put an ad in for a roommate because her roommate left and got married, and she didn't specify gender. She forgot to specify the gender, and so our dad was looking for a roommate, and
Right.
he contacted her, and she was like, "Oh God, no! I actually need
Yeah.
a woman, and I can't do it." And it's 1967,
Yeah.
66, 67, and so I think my dad was like, "Well, do you want to have dinner or something?" And she did, and so he said, "I'll make you dinner." And so he,
Off the first phone call?
I think so, yeah. It was
Wow.
very fast, and he made her this dinner, and I think it was Cornish hens and like a bunch of other stuff that he made, and she was like definitely impressed, and like he needed like game because our mom was a relatively attractive woman, and our dad was an overweight dude who had like tons of personality and also
Just like a funny, gregarious,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
like he could
jolly-
dance well, he cooked pretty well,
He could bowl. He could play tennis. Like he was just this interesting guy of many different.
but he was not
Yeah.
like, you didn't look over and say like, who's that attractive man?
He was going to win you.
He had to win you over with
was
like
his name?
His name was Dick. This is
Dick?
Dick
our
Sklar.
parents had the best names. This was an old joke of ours, Dick and Annette Sklar, which of course brings to the surface our favorite joke. How do you catch a dick?
With a net.
It's good writing,
That's
Tom.
great
Papa.
writing.
It's good writing for 9-year-old kids.
Yeah.
But it was, I mean, but they, and she,
Wow.
good on her for like, you know, he wooed her. He like did
Yeah.
it with like food
She loved
Yeah.
him.
and with his
And 5
energy.
weeks later, he got transferred back down to St. Louis, and he was leaving. And he was like, "Come with me to St. Louis. Just come with me to St. Louis. I want you. I just
Yeah.
come on this trip with me." So he goes back to St. Louis, and he's looking for a place, and he introduces her to his parents,
Right.
and is like, "I don't want you to go back. I want you to stay with me. I want to get married." And they got married, and they were married his whole life. He's no longer around, but like they were married
42 years.
Amazing.
Crazy.
That's so great.
5 weeks.
5 weeks.
Isn't that crazy?
God, he had good game.
Different
good
world. It was a different world. But I mean, it's like, who knew? You just knew that this person would stick around. I don't know. He was
Yeah.
like maybe just super perceptive.
Man, yeah, like I guess he just knew. It was
You
one of those
just
things
know.
where
I
you
mean,
know, yeah.
God knows, like that's
Yeah.
the craziest.
I think also that time, like people were getting, it was like important for
Yeah.
people to get hitched and connected when they were younger, and there wasn't
Yeah.
like I'm
was an-
waiting for my
yeah,
man.
there was an
like,
outside
Right.
pressure.
And
Right.
yeah, there was that outside. So I think all those factors came together, and then they lucked out because they had a very similar like approach to family and to parenting and to, you know,
Right.
that's hard once you get into a relationship and you have kids and like,
Yeah.
One's like, I'm gonna take this thing off here, and leaves it all on the other person. That's never.
or I
Right.
don't want to ever see your parents ever again, or you know, like I'm not into going to family functions and
God,
stuff like
yeah.
that. That's hard.
that would
Yeah.
have crushed them both.
Yeah, forget it.
Luckily, you know, my parents
they
both
lined
said, I will accept your crazy family.
Yeah.
I will come hang for their nonsense, and I
Right.
will be there. I'm here for it. And like that was
What a
remarkable.
great story.
Amazing.
It's so cool. I really, when I hear those stories, and that time, it just seems like, and I maybe just we're craving it coming out of what we're coming out of, but that sense of community, and it's not even like people that like you know hang with. It's just that, like you said, you know the butcher and you know the florist, and they all know you. Like those people knowing you and giving you this sense of like belonging in your town. It's I don't know. I just crave it, and it feels like, I'm sure it's not everywhere, but
do you do that here with like your people and the places you go?
Yeah,
I do.
which was a really hard part with the wearing the masks,
right?
Because it killed that part of it. It wasn't like seeing my parents or like that we knew that was coming back, but it was like, I'm in the supermarket. I've got 3 girlfriends over 65 that are cashiers at the supermarket, and I do all that.
That's right.
I try and build it all the time, but it's not. It just seems different, like when the story you tell.
I do it. There's a woman who's at the cleaners that I go to, and she's wonderful, and she looks like the woman played by a man from The Incredibles, Edna Mode. She looks like her, and she's this lovely Asian woman who is so cool, and her husband is really cool. I think he was in the army, and I think they couldn't have kids, but she's always been so lovely to my kids, and I, because I would bring my son in when he was 2, and so whenever I'm with my son and driving there to the cleaners to pick something up, because a lot of times he'll be like, I'll wait in the car, or he'll just be on his phone, and I'm like, no, you got to come in. You have to say hi to Nancy. You got to say hi to Nancy, and so he'll come back in, and he'll be like, Nancy, and she's like, Liev, you're so big, and like we'll all hang out and talk for a little bit. I'm like, that's
the best.
What you have to do. You
gotta do that. That's part of
totally.
It is this unseen fabric of the world we live in.
Yeah.
That is like, again, as comedians, I feel like we are constantly trying to throw that rope out to the audience to be like, hey,
connect with me.
This is our idea about X here. We're going to now demonstrate it through a scene that Jason and I are going to play out, but you'll relate to this. Here's the line, and just grab on. Trust us.
Right.
We're constantly doing that. Like, why wouldn't we do that in our regular lives too?
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. We have a donut shop in our old neighborhood, which is like 6 miles from our new neighborhood. And it's just this little, those little LA strip mall donut places. And she always remembered my daughter. And to this day, we're like, and then she's like 19 now. Yeah. And it's like, should we see if she still remembers?
Yes.
And you walk in and she'll take her a beat and be like, oh, you're so big.
She knows your daughter better than you know her. She's like, how's the weed smoking? You're like, you knew that too?
She's like, yeah, it's weed more than drinking. I know her.
Hello, we're donuts.
Yes. No one gets drunk and orders donuts. You get high and order donuts.
She's been getting donuts behind your back since she was a sophomore. How did you know?
How did you know? Damn it. So you guys have some milestones with the kids, right? You've got some... I saw some
so I have a
graduating.
Yeah, I have a 16-year-old, and I have one that's going to high school next year. She's going to be 14 in a month, which is just,
it's all starting up. Yeah.
2 teenage girls living in the house. It's like
my life.
Randy and I were talking about this. Like, I don't think Obama gets enough credit for being president with teenage girls.
Right. He'd be coming in like,
hey guys, dinner's in like 5.
Shut up! Get out of here!
You're such an idiot. Oh, sorry.
So I'm gonna go back to killing Bin Laden.
I got
your tater tots already. You
on the
fucking
phone.
Idiots. Like, it's like,
God, you're the worst.
God,
what?
Get him out of here,
Mom. He's being so annoying. You gotta knock. You gotta knock.
I dropped my 16-year-old daughter at camp yesterday.
You gotta knock.
You gotta make at least a Secret Service guy knock for you.
Or at least text or whatever, because it's like so weird. Because like, what if I was changing and you walked right in and he's like, oh, so I'm gonna get back on the phone with China because at least they respect me.
At least there's a pathway for communication, you jerks. So I dropped my 16-year-old daughter off at camp, and like, we went on a trip to Lake Tahoe beforehand. I tried to schedule all this so that like we could do it all, have like a family trip. And then since we were up there, I was dropping her in Northern California, and we got over there. And the younger one is like, why do we have to drive all the way over here? And the older one is like, I just wanted to be at home so I could see my friends. Like, I'm glad you got to have your trip. I'm like, this was for all of us. So I drop her off, and they're wonderful. I joke that I love them both. They're wonderful, awesome kids. And I drop her off, and like, of course, because it's COVID, there wasn't camp last year. The last time I dropped her off was 2 years ago, and that was our first time ever at this camp. So there isn't like I was like, I think I drive in here, and there's like a sign that's like exit only, and I'm like, I think it's the way I'm supposed to go. The worst
position
So
ever
this
to
is-
be in.
as
With a
a
car
dad-
full of people to
A
be
car
like,
full of
I think
three
it's
women,
this.
3 women, 2 young women and my wife. Like to take a flyer on something that isn't the right thing. You know, like
Totally.
You know, the dad fucking. You know, you're like going into quicksand that you will never get out of.
You just right. Exactly.
I'll just
You got to lean into it at
right.
that moment.
So I
though.
park it and
It's
I'm
like
like,
you've driven a car into the lake and you're watching the water go up in the car and you can't unlock the door.
and I'm like, Daddy did this. Bubble. And I was like, so I parked the car and I get her huge duffel bag out
Yeah.
and her sleeping bag and the pillow, and we're carrying it. We're like, where do we drop the stuff off? Because it was dropped off up here last time. And they're like, oh no, you guys got to go down there. Just walk down that path. And meanwhile, it's like straight down. It's really go down this path. And I go to the thing and, you know, it's hot and I've got all this stuff. And I literally, this is how nicely I asked the person sitting at the tent checking people. And I was like, where do I drop this off? And my 16-year-old daughter was like, please do not make a scene. I was like, I am just trying to drop your thing off. I have no idea what I'm doing wrong
make a
here. Like,
scene.
don't make a scene. I'm like, what do you want to just
Scene would have been like, bitch, where do I put this?
where do we drop this shit?
I'm going to drop 7 N-bombs and walk out of this.
That's
place.
a scene.
That's a scene.
You don't know. I don't think you
never
understand
seen
what
a
a scene
scene.
is because Dad's held
Do you
it
want me to
together.
make a scene? Because I can make a scene.
We're performers. We can drop this
Yeah.
thing. And so it just was like, there are
Yeah.
moments where it's like intense, that stuff. And
Totally.
then just intensely cool. They're wonderful adults who
the
are
greatest.
young
Yeah.
adults.
Doesn't
who are
that
just-
feel like it's a great connecting point? I felt like older, we talked about this in our stand-up too, like we
Yeah.
couldn't wait for our kids to be older, to be able to sort
Yeah.
of...
No, I did. I always said, like, I can't wait for them to be able to sit in a diner with me.
Right.
When, like, the baby thing was, like, cute and all, but I was like, I want to sit,
It's work.
have an omelet and talk.
That's right. That's that.
And do your kids
Yeah.
love that you do what you do? Do they understand that, you know, they understand it obviously,
It
but
took a long time though. Like
Right.
it took like a long time for them to realize, because they don't really want to know too much.
Right.
Like even like early teens, they're like if I could get them to meet someone, like I did the Tonight Show and they met Miley Cyrus and they were like, all right, he's cool like
This
that.
is cool,
And then
right.
I'd go do Conan and they didn't know the lead guest. They'd be like, no, we're going to stay home. And it was like, they just had no,
what?
it was
This
like
is
I was their
also
Uber driver to
insane.
Conan. I wasn't
Right.
performing
Right.
on Conan. I was just driving them to
Yeah,
meet
that's
people.
right. Exactly.
But now, I think now, like, they see that we've kind of carved out this odd life.
Yeah.
Like, we're not a dad that has, like, a straight job.
Right.
And
Right.
it's kind of funny. And,
Yeah.
you know, if they tag you, they get more followers. So, like,
Or they
that
see
part
you
of
out,
it.
they see someone out who like is a stranger who's like, oh, I
Yeah.
saw you and
Yes,
I love
yes,
your
yes.
thing, whatever.
Totally.
Like-
then they take note of that. They're like, yeah,
Maybe he-
well, that's
maybe he
kinda
does have some
cool.
value.
Yeah, maybe he's got something.
Yeah.
But and yours?
So my son is now 12 and a half, almost 13.
Okay.
And he's now at the age where he's gotten super into skateboarding in the
Nice.
last year. And so he is at the age now where we will drop him at a skate park with like
yeah.
3 or 4 of his friends at like 11 in the morning. And he'll be like, get me at 7 tonight.
Wow.
And he'll just skate.
Oh, good for him.
And I'm like, I kind of like that.
Kind of
so
awesome.
great.
It's
Yeah,
outside,
just a
it's not-
passion for something.
I mean, it is also wrapped up in them being like, him and his friends being like, let's get our clips so we can
Yeah.
cut together and edit so we can post it
Yeah,
on
yeah.
Instagram. And I'm like, that's also kind of cool.
Creative as well.
Huge.
But
yeah.
it's like this cool, and to watch him like get good at this thing is very cool. And then
So great.
I have a little, and he's also at a great age where like we watched all of The Office together. We watched
Right.
from start to finish Parks and Rec. We just started 30 Rock. I'm
Yeah.
like, we watched Arrested
Yeah.
Development. I'm like, let me give you the education
good.
on Airplane.
Yeah.
We're watching Airplane. This movie
he
is the
funny?
best. He's funny.
Yeah.
He's super
Funny.
funny.
Yeah.
The other day we were in Orange County. We were down in Orange County at Mission Viejo for 4th of July. And he didn't like pose it as a stand-up bit, but I'm like, that's kind of a stand-up bit. He's like, okay, here's the deal with every Orange County mom. And I'm like, okay, you're doing the setup.
Here we go.
I'm
with
every
you.
Orange
I'm with
County
you.
mom. I'm with you. He's like, they're all white. And I'm like, you're
Okay.
you're close. He's like, they're all blonde. And I'm like, you're right. He's like, and they're always they're all on their phone. He said it like that. And I'm like, that's really funny. And he's like, and their kids look like they should love each other, but they're always fighting with each other. It's kind of right. It's like, why are they always in an aggressive stance? I'm like, yes, that's a comedy
It's so
bit.
funny.
It's like
Yeah.
a great idea.
It is good.
So he is definitely funny, and he was sitting with my cousin and talking to my cousin who's our age, who I love, who like went to Michigan with us, and she's a dear. She's like our sister almost, and she. And I was somewhere else. I was with my 7-year-old daughter, like swimming in the lake. And I came back and she said, "Oh, I think it's so cool that your son wants to be a comedy writer like you." And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome. First of all, I'm also a performer." No, no, but that I am a comedy writer.
threat.
Don't limit. But I think that's cool that he, and I'm like, I also have to tell him it's a really hard life and he might not ultimately want to do that. But she was like, yeah, but regardless, that's his way of saying he admires what you do.
Yeah, that's huge.
And
that's great.
And he is like that. He is like, for a boy, which I think it's harder for you guys have girls.
We only know that.
So
Yeah,
my son is like this very loving, emotional, like huggy, like arm around me, doesn't care. Like if we're in public, he'll dropping up at the skate park, he'll give me a kiss goodbye. Like,
so great.
And I'm like, I take it all because I'm the
That's so
huggiest.
great.
Like, I love it all. He's like a golden retriever, and my daughter is like a cat. Well, I'm like, and he gets pissed at her. She's 7, and he always wants to like come up and give her a hug, and she's always like, no. And and then when she says no, his response is to like jack her in the face. But, which I'm like, but you're like, can't go that far, but I hear you. But no, but my daughter's love. But I hear you. But my daughter's love is like, of course, you have to earn it so hard. You have to work so hard for it. But it's the best, most beautiful thing in the world.
She is like a wild
they
animal.
Surprise you when they just do those things that like.
Yeah.
My daughter, when I would go on the road like early, like that, you know, the 4:30 bust out, and she went through a year where she would just get up. She was probably 10. In her nightgown, totally out of it, asleep. She'd hear me coming, and just to give me a hug before I went up the stairs and out the door.
The best.
Oh,
the best.
My
you live
God.
on that. You live on that as you head out to where you are. But you have to. It's such a balancing act. I remember we had. And we had a comic on our show, a guy we looked up to in the 90s, a really, really great comic who had success. So we had him on our podcast who had success and TV show and everything. And then, you know, moved out to kind of like in the valley and a big house and whatnot. And he had to pay for it and everything. And it's like, you don't get a TV show every year. You got to get on the road. You got to do all this stuff.
Right.
So he was out on the road, and I'll never forget this story he told us, never. And it really guides the way we sort of view what we're doing. And he was like, one day I was like at some, you know, stupid hotel, like on the side of the road next to like a Fuddruckers and a Ruby Tuesdays and something else. And it's like raining, and I'm like really depressed. And then I realized that day it was my daughter's birthday. And he's like, what am I doing? What am I even doing? Like, did I really need to do this gig?
Yeah.
Did I really need to do this at this time and this thing? And I said, well, what's your relationship like with her now? And he's like, it's terrible.
No.
And I just never forgot that. That stuck with me all the time. Was like, okay, you sometimes have to say, I'm not going to be as good at what I do,
right,
so that I can just be around them a little bit more.
I thought that story was going to have a happier ending.
Nope,
No.
it's terrible. Well, the happy ending is it
into
was
the
a lesson for us to like,
yeah.
and there have been moments where we're like, should we do this? And we're like, nope, let's not do it.
Or we'll get off stage after having like a rougher set somewhere, and we'll be like, man, we got to get up more. We got to get up more. We got to get up more. And then we're like, or do we? Really, right now?
Yeah. You know, have you found that you, going back after taking the sabbatical, which none of us would have taken unless it was forced upon us, do you feel like you have a little bit better handle on how much you actually have to do to keep good?
That's a great question. We've always, I think, like, tried to be strategic about it. We're like, all right, let's stack all our sets on a Thursday night. Let's try to get 2 or 3 in, and then that's like we've been up 3 times this week, and then that's what we do.
Yeah.
And so we've tried to be.
Because what's the difference of doing it like Monday, Wednesday,
Tuesday,
and Friday?
right.
Yeah, what is the difference between doing that or doing 3 sets in one night?
And if your family's like, so you're just out Thursday, you're here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night,
right,
it's a limiting it's a way to mitigate the life and to make it work.
It's smart.
So, you know, and sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
But like, I think we realize that like it's just a law of diminishing returns. We could probably be about 18% better if we got up every night of the week. We could probably write a new special every year, and we could probably do that. But as it stands, we can just do it now every 2 years, and we can, and we'll get better as we do things, and we'll get, you know, it's like the choices you have to make so that we can be there.
And I just as an outside observer, and this kind of supports, it took me a while. It took the pandemic for me to actually think about what you're describing, because it was just go all the time. And then after coming back, it was like, oh, turns out after 25 years, you kind of know what you're doing.
Yes.
And
oh my God,
those sets are not wasted, where when you're younger, they're kind of like, they're kind of wasted that way.
Yeah.
But just from an outside observer, like hearing that you work that way, and you guys have gotten so good like recently, like there's still so much growth. And, you know, I've said this to you guys countless times, but I'll say it for our listeners. And you guys came on Prairie Home Companion live from here. And it was just, and that, you know, and I was kind of the one saying, like, you guys put these people on the show. I was kind of the comedy thing. And you guys were so good at such a different level than even I was promoting to those people.
Thank you.
It was a great set for us.
So there's got to be, my theory is that you are living your lives and you have experience, and that's making all the work deeper, better.
It has to, and then you go up and, like you said, you are like, okay, let's really be smart about, let's do this set, see how it feels, because you know sets are different. Like if you go up, there's a great new show in Los Angeles called Supernova, which is a really fun show, and it's just the crowds are great, and you're trying your stuff out, and you're gonna get a great response. If you're a good comedian, you're gonna get it. You know, you get up at the store and you're in the main room, and you come after it's tag team and whatnot, even though the other thing is tag team. You gotta really bring it, and you have to bring it in a certain way, and it may not be it's just a different room of people. It may not even be the people that see you when you go out on the road. So it's just a different set of skills. So like we go into each one and we're like, okay, let's figure out how we're gonna do this. How are we going to wipe the slate clean if it was just there before us, and then get into our stuff? And it becomes much more analytical beforehand. We register it as we're doing it, and then afterwards it's like usually like a post-mortem on, okay, this worked, this didn't work, why is this not working? Do we keep trying it? Do we take it back to the lab?
We're not giving this up. We're not giving up on this.
Right. Do you, like when I have a set roll up, like I'm not working tonight, but if I haven't done anything since my last set. I haven't looked at my notes. I haven't done really any work, so it's like one of those like, when you do you show up and one of you has done the work and one of you has not, or do you kind of communicate during the day?
Oh, we'll talk as we're driving there.
So we'll call each other to number one, check what we're wearing, make sure that it doesn't look similar.
Like I don't want to look even in the same genre.
Oh, really?
If they're wearing a Western shirt, then I'm going topless.
What?
It's that. So but we'll do that, and then, you know what? For us, it's like bits. For us, like it's not just individual jokes. It's like everything is a longer bit. So like things are in like certain levels of construction
development. So like here's an example. So we have an idea about that we want to try and develop in a bit, and we haven't been able to make it work the way we want it to work right now. But this is the idea. If you don't mind, we'll share it with you.
Mind.
So the idea is that Elon Musk was like launched real people into space. Like it's the thing. We're going to take regular people and launch them into space, which is like where space travel was heading. It's
it's like if we want to populate Mars or the moon, we got to start doing this kind of thing.
Get people ready, and you're like, okay.
I'm like, I think regular people can handle it. I think they can handle it. I think their families won't be able to handle it. Because I think about how my family handles me just going up on stage for like 15 minutes. I'll get like 8 texts like the pilot light is out. And
where are the long matches?
Where are the long matches? I can't get them now because I'm telling a joke about everybody. You know, like
those the dog eating.
And you're like, ETA. I'm literally just left the house.
I'm in space.
So that's our thing. So we're like, if Elon Musk was blasting us out into
because
space.
astronauts' families understand. They're like, mommy's going into space.
Give her space.
Give
her all of space.
Literally and figuratively give her space. But like, you know, so if it were us, like if we were the two,
this becomes the bit.
Two regular people like shot into space, like we wouldn't be like, we would have just taken
there wouldn't be like some gorgeous view back into the atmosphere.
No, I'll be looking at my phone like, hey, on your way home, can you swing by Trader Joe's and get the vegan Caesar dressing? I'm like,
yeah, I'm over Indonesia right now.
I think
Maybe
we cross the international date line.
ETA.
I'll see if we can get there.
What's your ETA?
Hey, can you send an email to the Club Gymnastics and ask them why they keep charging us? Yeah, sure.
Right.
Hey guys, stop working on the International Space Station. I need the Wi-Fi to send off an angry email to Coach Mike.
And the single astronauts are floating around just enjoying it,
Exactly.
catching food in their mouths.
Right, they're happy.
They're taking photos like selfies out in space for their Instagram feed, and we're just like, I'm on the phone and I'm
like trying to fill out like a DocuSign.
you have to push the starter button and then you put the
Did
long
they get the
match in.
COVID test? Well, you gotta email CVS. That's like, there's like that becomes
The
the whole
passwords for the Wi-Fi.
The work that we would
thing.
have
Passwords for our Hulu and Disney Plus account. I don't know.
just try.
I'm
so
trying
funny.
to learn
That's
Russian.
great.
Yeah. So I mean, like that's the
Yeah.
thing. So again, really funny here, but it's like, how do we translate that onto stage? Which I think we've tried it a bunch of times, and sometimes people laugh, and sometimes people don't. But we have to figure it out.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we'll be like, are we going to try that tonight?
Yeah.
Are we going to slide it in? Let's see how we're feeling in the middle of the set.
Right.
You know, because sometimes you're like, we got to just swing haymakers
Yeah.
if we're here, but maybe it's something we can slide in over here, and let's see what happens with it. Let's see how it does.
And I would have to think that when it's not going well, or it's going really well. I mean, if it's going really well, it's obvious. But if it's not going well, you both kind of have the sense at
Let's
the
just
same
cut it
time,
off. Like, there's no need
There's
to
never.
keep
There's
going.
never like, no. I think we got it.
No,
and the other
no,
one's
we
like,
know.
no.
No.
Like,
We've
right?
never-
That energy is that energy.
No, you
There's
feel it and sense it, and you're just sort of
Yeah.
like, okay, this isn't really connecting with them. Let's just jump onto something else, and
Right,
let's
right.
try and dig back in with something else.
Yeah.
He's talking about like, you're talking about like later, like whether we come back and keep it in, or you're
No,
talking
like
about
in the middle
moment?
of it.
In the middle of the
in the
set,
middle.
Yeah. There's a lot of
Yeah.
nonverbal, like, let's move on.
You never walked off and were like, no, I think they liked us.
Yeah,
And you're
no.
like,
You know.
Mark
Yeah.
Maron described it once to, like, he said he went back and started doing sets at the Cellar. And he was like, I came in, I was like all ready to go, and I got in the Cellar, and he was like, and I got up on stage and I started talking about something that was not getting anything. And I was like, really, you? I was like, everything you do is just like dipped in gold. I love it so much. And he's doing this thing, and he's like, I just felt the sweat go up the back of my neck and like start to tingle on the top of my head and like start to come down my forehead.
Like what other profession do you like throw yourself into the fire for public humiliation on a regular basis?
know.
And it doesn't matter if you've done it for 35 years.
Right,
No, it doesn't matter.
He's done it long enough, and there's lots of people. You've done it long
Yeah.
enough where it's like, all right,
Every
You
room
should be good.
you should be
Every
good.
room.
But
should be good, but
you
it's
just don't
totally
know.
different. It's such an energy thing.
Yeah.
Every single night.
Every night you gotta prove
I don't know
it.
if you've been at the store where they finally are seating the front row in the main room.
Yeah.
And there was always that gap since we've been back.
yeah.
And the other night I walked in and they had that front row sat.
You
and
were
it was
shocked.
Like, and it was so much easier.
Oh, nice.
Just having that human connection of
Right
that
there.
front, like just taking those human beings out of that space. And now I have to connect with someone who's only 10 feet further, makes a difference. It's such a weird, unknown thing.
10 feet. Okay, so
Yeah.
Jay and I did a corporate show in Vegas, and like when we got the job, and we'll take any corporate gig because it's money for our families.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is, unless
I don't
it's
care
for
how
the
bad it is, because
unless
you're like,
it's for
I'll
the
never get this
NRA.
gig again.
Unless it's for the NRA,
Yeah.
we will not do that. But like, and they wouldn't have us in the first place. But so like, it's a gig in Vegas. And we go and we do it, and we realize
It's a gig for Winnebago owner, like dealership.
independent Winnebago dealership.
Dealership owners.
Okay.
So these are like wealthy people selling, they
Yeah.
all are like their own little fiefdom like leaders.
Sure.
And their wives or their second wives or their mistresses in Vegas. And it's like hundreds of those people from around the country. Not exactly our crowd and our people.
But we're like, let's do it.
We'll
We
do the
can-
best we can.
Yeah.
45 minutes. We can do anything for 45 minutes.
There's a little clock on the counter right there, and
Love
like
the
that
clock.
45 could not get there quick enough.
And we show up to the venue, and it's in this gigantic ballroom, like the kind of ballroom that they would put a whole convention in,
Yeah.
right? And there's like a whole dance floor and a stage, and then an entire massive dance floor.
And like the people are you think the Comedy Store, that's 10 feet, they're like 150 feet back. I was like, 150 feet
And
back.
it was like 5 Comedy Stores. And then all round tables were like half the table's back is to you.
Sure.
Like a bunch of that. And we walked in and we're like, Jesus Christ, you could drive a Winnebago through here. And they were like, oh yeah, that's what we've been doing. We use this room and someone gets up on stage and we drive it through and we park it.
You don't want to move there's no Winnebago coming up during our comedy act. Like, move them closer.
And we literally watched our jokes just fall to the floor between us.
If someone was here, it might have landed on someone, but it was just that and like
Death.
It's death. That's in my rider, by the way.
It's gotta be.
You gotta bring them close.
No dance floor.
No dance floor.
I won't perform if there's a dance floor between me and the audience.
Ooh, that's smart.
Because it happened, that same exact thing.
Yeah.
They think, well, this is great, and then the comedian will do the thing. Then as soon as they're done, we'll start the band and dance. And I just died early deaths doing that, and it's in my rider. I won't do it. And if the only time I've compromised is when they built a makeshift stage off the main stage,
and you could
on the dance floor, so I could get
out, get to the middle.
them.
Yeah,
Smart. That's
actually
smart. That'll work. That's smart.
Yeah.
That works.
I would even perform on the floor.
Sure.
In that center area.
Just get me close to the people.
Just bring me close to these people because it does, in a weird way, it makes it more immediate for them and it makes them accountable. It makes them weirdly accountable.
It's like when you do crowd work, if you just talk to someone from the audience for a second, they're like, and they're on high alert. They might come for me.
They're in it.
That was when we did this show. That was even before people could look at their phones and like just tune you out at a show.
Right.
I never got that part of it too. I'm like, you paid for this whole show.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Why look at your phone? You can do it in like 45 minutes.
The seller's bagging the phones now.
Are they really? That's great. That's smart.
I mean, they do it in Denver. It's like the greatest thing in the world. And by the way, nobody complains. I've never seen anyone complain.
And you know it as soon as you get in the building because you hear people talking to each other.
So
before
that's
the show.
number one.
Yes.
And number two, it's like an NBA player today without tattoos. It's shockingly refreshing. And you look at it and you say to yourself,
simple.
like it becomes the thing. You're like, this guy doesn't have any tattoos. It's like, wow, that's really amazing. Not that tattoos are bad, and I think people who have tattoos, that's fine. That's cool. I'm just saying it's unique.
It's fresh, right?
It's a unique,
the cool kids.
It's almost like the reverse of, okay, I've already seen all that.
Yeah.
But like, you're like, we're going to a comedy club.
Yeah.
I can't be reached for an hour and a half or however long this is going to be.
That's
Boom.
right.
So
It's
great.
cool. I love that.
So how much of the sport thing now is taking up your mind and your work?
I mean, we do our podcast View from the Cheap Seats where we break down sports, and we just started a Patreon where we're actually doing new episodes of Cheap Seats, which we haven't done forever. We did
That's a good idea.
We did a slap fight. It was like watching that scene from Moonstruck 80 times over.
Only funnier.
Snap out of it.
Slap out of it.
Slap out of it.
Because like you're the go-to, like an NPR calls you.
Yeah, we do
I hear you
sports
guys
for
on
those
there all the
guys.
time.
And we've just set up over the summer, just because we weren't getting out on the road and booking summertime gigs, we called Jim Rome's show and we spoke to or emailed the guy who handles all when he goes on vacation.
Right.
Huge radio show
Yeah.
and CBS Sports TV show.
Yeah.
We said, what's it looking like this summer? Do you have any days? Like, we'll take as many as you'll give us.
Wow,
and so we got
smart.
like 9 days.
Wow, that's
we
great.
got to prep them. We got to drive
Yeah.
down to it. We got to prep them. We got to deliver 3 hours of sports talk radio, and it's just the two of us talking
Yeah.
about things. And sometimes we get people to call in, but it's a nice challenge and it's money. And we're like, you know what?
It's great.
It's enjoyable. It's
and
like
it's so much nice. It's really, you're good at it, and I think it's because it's like reading like good articles on sports rather than just lug nuts on sports. Like it's like, oh, like you're able to articulate it. It's not just yelly, screamy.
it's trying to and again, this is from comedy and from like dumb people.
You're like, so you say, what's my take on this? It's really, what's the premise? What is the premise? And each thing is we're going to write a bit.
So LeBron James this past weekend, his son Bronny is a basketball star in the AAU circuit, and the AAU circuit for kids is like, when we all were kids, we played baseball, we played basketball, we played soccer.
You played for like a rec league, and then if you were good enough, you played for your high school. That's it.
Right.
Now you got like kids are scouted from when they're 8, when they're 12, 11, 13 years old.
My
They
God.
get on these AAU travel teams. They play 100 games a year. And it's this.
That's what you're doing. You're on the road doing stand up, and like, meanwhile, can you imagine like your kid who's not into that? Well, we're not leaving you at home. You got to come with us. We got to travel every weekend to all these different. It's so much involvement.
Yeah.
So his son's and they're playing in a gym that's the LeBron James gym. He literally donated the money. It's his name's on it.
And some announcer is like, well, Bronny's getting all the calls because it's his dad's gym, and I'm over the PA system.
No.
And I'm like, first of all, why are you saying that? Don't say that.
Yeah.
And then LeBron comes over and tells the guy to shut up and stops the game. And this kind of fed back into what we were talking about before about Obama being like, doesn't matter if that he's LeBron James.
Right.
He's just your dumb dad.
Suddenly, like Bronny's like, Dad, stop making a scene. You know what I mean? It's like, well, he was just slagging you off, and it's like so funny because then it's a sports story, but it's really about a parent and their kid, and we're like, what's the human element that we can draw out of it, and then make that funny?
Funny. That's great.
How do we make that funny?
So that's why someone like, I don't know how deep into sports you are or how big of a sports fan you are, but even if you're just a casual sports fan, if we can make it personal and we can find the comedy and find the human element to it, then it's for everybody.
Yeah, that's great. Is hockey over?
Hockey is not over. It's almost
They won
over.
one?
As we were, they won one.
So they won one, and there was the.
This is a great story.
So
This
there's
is a
another
great
story we
story.
covered. The mayor of Tampa Bay. Which
Right.
I'm like, Tampa Bay, you should not have hockey.
I know,
It's
but-
because of this woman.
Yeah.
And they're a dynasty.
They're great.
They're the best.
Yeah.
And so this woman who's the mayor was like, here's what I want. Yeah, I'm guessing she was drunk. She's like, hey, here's the deal, Tampa.
And like suddenly someone with a microphone was like,
Hey, honey, you're talking into the wine bottle. The mic's over here.
what I want.
Here's the deal, guys. Right, so
Did you become the mayor of Tampa?
easily.
You're like the most
Easily.
sober person in Tampa right now.
So she goes, I think we should take it easy on him, let him win one in Montreal, and then we'll come back here and we'll win the cup.
Oh, no.
And like the coach of the Lightning was like, we don't want to do
so
that.
we
We want to win as fast as possible. But then what happened was Montreal won in overtime when it was in Montreal, and now it's coming back to Tampa Bay. Now, no one thinks Tampa Bay is going to lose, but if the miracle happens and another miraculous game happens and Montreal wins and then it goes back to Montreal and then you're in game 6, and then if they tie it up in game 6, then it's a 1-game series and anything can happen. Puck bounces weird ways.
So then you say to yourself, this is why certain places shouldn't have certain things.
I mean,
Like,
there are guys walking around Canada with their Tim Horton next to like weird snow shapes that are still on the ground in June up in Calgary who are like dreaming about Gordon Lightfoot and hockey. And they don't have a Stanley Cup, and Tampa Bay has like 2 Stanley. There are people in Tampa Bay who don't even know they have a team. They think their team is not the Tampa Bay Lightning. They think it's the Florida Panthers. It's like they don't deserve this thing.
Have this
They should. And fine, look, you can tell me that there are 18,000 Tampa Bay fans. Great.
Sure.
There's no one else outside of that arena that knows that you have a team or gives a crap
or cares.
So Canada, like, they line up for months for the season tickets. Like, give them a Stanley Cup. And so that thing, and then the other thing it kind of brought us to was a discussion of the awful mayoral bet that 2 city mayors make.
Can we like
do.
stop
Yeah,
that?
like, right.
Send you a case of our greatest microbrew from.
First of all, you don't have to
You
pay
get my
for it.
bag of bagels.
Right. Send us a bag of bagels.
You're
It's
not
like-
going to eat them. You're not going to drink it. It's going to get stale. It's going to get warm, and then you're going to throw it out.
And then what big loss did you have? I'm like, put like your firstborn on the line.
Put some skin in the game.
Now you better. Now you're hoping your team wins. That's
Yeah.
right. You're hoping your team. And I'm
Throw
like,
your passports in the bowl.
That's right.
like, what does Tampa
Who
have?
can't travel out of the country for the next time?
What does Tampa have to offer Montreal? Like a bag of meth? Like, what do you have? Like, what is your
Like a vial of tiger blood from a home zoo? I don't know.
So like and it becomes that becomes our discussion.
Right.
And
So it's almost like a puzzle, almost like writing jokes. And then you're like,
Right.
okay, how do we take this story, which is about X?
Yeah.
Like, what is a story about a woman who gets arrested for using a squirt gun to
Right.
squirt out the Olympic torch that's being carried? So she
Right.
got arrested. You're like, well, who is that woman?
Right.
What kind of a person has to buy a squirt gun to then show up and squirt out the Olympic torch? Like, who is that person?
Are you
It's like
quick at this? Because it seems like a lot of work. It seems like there's a lot of homework.
work. It's a lot of work, and we do it how we sort of divvy up the work like we've always done,
Right,
which is
yeah.
that we each sort of attack one or two, and then we edit each other's work, and then we kind of have ownership over it.
And then it's the performative element, and we're like, we put everything into it because we want people who show up that day or watch it on TV, or it's playing in a bar somewhere and people are watching us, or they're listening in their cars, they're delivery men and women for Amazon, and they're listening to the thing as it's coming through. You're like,
let us give you 3 hours.
We're gonna take you, like, we're gonna make your workday fun for the next chunk of time. So just stick with us. We got you.
That's great.
And I love that feeling.
I mean, you've done radio. You've done
I do it every day with Fortune.
I love that show.
It's a lot, but I don't have the fear, which you might not have because you're probably into it more than I am, even though I am a sports fan. The not being prepared and saying the wrong thing to sports fans is kind of terrifying to me.
Oh, and they'll call you on it. Those fans of Jim Rome Show will call you on it.
Oh, I'm sure.
We've made mistakes before, but we also never claim to be the experts. We're always like, hey, we're coming at this from a comedy perspective.
Right.
We're coming at it from a fan perspective. We're not coming at it from the expert.
We're not going to give you the hyper stats of like someone's, like everybody's exit velocity from the way.
But you have producers who are like, will just pipe in your ear and be like, hey, the NBA ratings for this year's NBA finals are down 18%. So then you rattle that fact off, and then that's an interesting fact for someone to know.
No,
why is that? Well, because it's Milwaukee and Phoenix. It's not the Lakers and the Celtics. It's not these teams. It's like these two other teams. And what does that mean? And then suddenly you're into that.
And then you go.
It's all fascinating to us. You know? But again,
it's cool.
I mean, our stand-up isn't all sports. It's hardly at all.
No, I mean, that's what's really great is that you have this. You have multiple ways to go and different audiences, and it's really great. And I love both of you and have forever. Now, when you take this home, now I know you're on Jenny Craig, so it might.
I'll share this with my kids.
I'll share my kid. This is like perfect toasting. This is perfect avocado toast.
Absolutely.
This is perfect.
It just came out today, so even tomorrow is even better.
Great.
You don't have to put it in a Ziploc or anything.
Great.
You just put a towel over it. You'll be good for 3-4 days.
And then you have to say ta-da when you lift it off?
Yes.
Okay, good.
And
you go, papa.
Papa. crunch on the outside, sort of moisty inside.
Doughy goodness.
No, this is
fluffy.
These are good right now.
How do you know? Do you know when you take them out of the oven, like, okay, these are particularly awesome?
I know when they're going into, after I shape it in the night before, I know these are going to be good.
These are going to be good. You know it before. That's amazing.
I know, because then it's going to go in the refrigerator overnight. Then the next day I'm going to turn it over. And then score it.
Now, what happens if you open up your proving drawer and someone's put like their, like computer in there? What the fuck? What are you doing? Hey.
The disrespect for the biggest violation you can have in my house is putting the wooden spoons in the wrong place.
Dude.
I'm just like,
don't, or in the dishwasher, God forbid. Those are wood. They don't belong there.
Well, I hope you enjoy it, and let me know. Be honest about it, whether you like it or not.
I can't wait. Absolutely.
Sure. And if you want, you can take an Italian cookie, an Italian candy. Have you ever had these?
I haven't had these.
Oh, these are good.
Will this make me want to smoke?
Yeah, you can have it. They're almond, they're Torrone, which is they're just so good.
And just like the Italians,
in Little Italy, they
packaging inside packaging.
I know, exactly.
We don't need.
In Little Italy, they would have mounds of this on the street, and they would just chip it off.
Oh yeah,
and
I know
give
these.
It to you.
Yeah, this is like a panettone.
Yeah, it's
cake.
like a nougat with almonds in it. Almonds are a huge.
It's like a
Italian thing.
It's like a naked candy bar.
Yeah,
it's like the inside of a candy bar.
Right, no chocolate on it. You're exactly
amazing.
Right.
Remember in Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Amazing.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, where the guy's face just completely drains of all the blood.
That's right.
If you were to turn that inside out, this is it.
If you turn that into a little Italian candy,
well,
a little Italian Nazi candy.
So good.
Come again.
We will, for sure.
You're the best. There is nobody on the planet like you, so why would you buy a generic mattress built for everyone else? I slept on a lot of mattresses. We bought mattresses like the old-fashioned way, where you would just like walk into a mattress store, lay on it for 2 seconds awkwardly, which you didn't even know, like, is this the mattress that you're going to get, like in a mall or whatever, and then you would just drag it home, or you just order it online without talking, just it looks good and the price is kind of fine. Nobody really cracked the right way to get a mattress until Helix Sleep rolled around. Not being able to sleep because of today's politics, the pandemic, your love life, like you even need these reasons. Sleeping's, it's a complicated endeavor. Why have the mattress be the thing that's stopping you? Go on to Helix Sleep. They have a quiz, takes 2 minutes to complete, matches your body type and your sleep preference to the perfect mattress for you. Everybody's unique, and Helix knows that. So they have several different mattress models to choose from. They have soft, medium, firm mattresses, great for cooling you down if you sleep hot. That's my wife's problem, and even and also my problem because I'm married to her. And even a Helix Plus mattress for plus size folks. I took the Helix quiz, matched it. They brought it to my house, and I'm telling you, it's the best mattress that we've had. And they kind of polluted me because I would say that even if they weren't advertising, because it's the truth. So if you're looking for a mattress, take the quiz. You order the mattress that you've been matched to. The mattress comes right to your house. It's awesome. You don't need to take my word for it. #1 overall mattress pick of 2020 by GQ and Wired Magazine. Go to helixsleep.com/papa, take the sleep quiz, and they'll match you to your mattress, and they'll give you the best sleep of your life. They have a 10-year warranty. Try it for 100 nights, risk-free. They'll come and pick it up if you don't love it. How about that? Helix is offering up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows. Adorable. For our listeners at helixsleep.com. If it's time for you to start exploring a better mattress and better sleep and a better life, this is the time to do it. Go to helixsleep.com/PAPA for up to $200 off all mattress orders. Ta-da! All right, now it's time for a quick bite with comedian and author Andrew Heaton. I'm looking forward to this phone call. This is going to be fun. He wrote a book called Los Angeles is Hideous, Poems About an Ugly City. If you're titling it that, you're definitely funny. So let's get on the phone right now and call up our new friend, Andrew.
Andrew,
Tom,
how are you, buddy?
I am living the dream. I'm hot, but other than that, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I thank you for taking my call. This is very exciting. I want to get into some of your writing and stuff, and we've never had a chance to meet, so this is perfect. But I'd like to start off with my favorite question. Question, which is, what have you eaten today?
I am back in New York City, and so I had the wrong bagel. Not the bagel I wanted, but the bagel somebody else ordered. So I had like a chicken and like a breaded chicken bagel, which was okay, but again, not what I ordered. And then I had a good slice of just sidewalk pizza. It was real good.
Ah, that's so perfect. I was just in New York last week, and I just ate my face off.
It's phenomenal. That's my trip's going to be part networking, part eating, and then I guess just avoiding prison for the rest of the time. It should be really fun.
Well, thanks for taking my call. I'm very intrigued by your book. Now, you live in L.A.?
I lived in L.A. Yeah. So I moved out there in January of last year for the networking, Tom. For the networking, because I thought, I'm not a beach guy or a summer guy or an Adobe guy, but it's not going to matter though, because the amount of worthwhile career connections I'm going to make are going to justify the aesthetic monstrosity that is this city. And, I'm paying more than I should for my apartment, and it doesn't even have a porch. It's basically a box. But who cares? I'm going to be at a diner with producers and cocktail parties with models and all these things. So my timing was not the best to enjoy the City of Angels.
Oh, man. So was it from that you wrote your book, Los Angeles is Hideous, Poems About an Ugly City, or had you written that before?
No, it was born through that experience. The kernels of it began before the pandemic because, as background info, I'm from Oklahoma. I used to live in Scotland, so my aesthetics are somewhere between forest and castles. That's kind of the things that I like. Right. So when I got in Los Angeles and I was looking at apartments, I was like, oh my God, this entire city's made out of bathroom tiling grout. How did anyone allow this to, like, I recoiled on such a visceral aesthetic level that I started keeping notes about it, because I was like, like it's rare for me to have this much of an emotional response to a place.
Yeah.
And then when I finally decided to pull the plug and get out of my lease and putter around America in a camper, I went, this would make for a good coffee table book. So then I started putting it to paper and became the internationally renowned poet laureate you know today.
That's so great. I mean, because I come from the East Coast, and I really do crave when people have honed it down and make some sense about LA, because I've been coming here and lived here for a long time. I've been back and forth for a couple of decades, but it's not the kind of place that people can really wrestle to the ground and explain, because it's so sprawling, it's so much. So to see your book and like you've actually kind of nailed it is so refreshing.
Well, I think you're right about that too, in that to give Los Angeles its full due, Los Angeles isn't really a city. It's more like a state in which all of the neighborhoods are their own distinct cities. Now, most of them are ugly, in my opinion, but I'm sure that there are some delightful ones for people far more successful than me. Like there's this. Have you ever heard of this place called Malibu, Tom?
Yeah, yes, I have.
That looks swanky. That and like Palisades, things like that. But all the neighborhoods that I would live in are basically just adobe hovels and sort of rusty air conditioning units that sell liquor. That's kind of the part of town I was in.
It's really true. I love. I'm just read a couple of your lines. You said, all the beauty of a parking lot, and yet, ironically, you will never find a parking space. Watch them toss palm trees at strip malls to gussy up the streets like injecting Botox into a corpse. Have you gotten any pushback on this?
No. You know what? Actually, the only pushback I got that I felt bad about was I emailed it to a couple of friends in Los Angeles to get. And I didn't send it to a lot of LA friends because I didn't want to kick them. Like the point of the book was basically for me to work through my aesthetic trauma.
Yeah.
It wasn't to make anybody feel that. I emailed one friend. It was like, hey, I think you'll find this funny. Let me know what you think. And he wrote back, your book is very funny. It's reminding me of the things that I don't like about the city, and now I am sad. I cannot finish it. And I went, this is actually worse than if he got mad at me. But no one's really got mad at me, though. I think for two reasons. First, I think there's a lot of people in Los Angeles that likewise move there for the industry, and not because they love the wonders of a gutter with a bunch of people's names and stars on it. And then the other half, like when people do get really mad, I find that when I go, look, I'm not a summer guy. To me, beaches are just a hole with a desert at the end. They're like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, if you don't like sunlight and sand, then this would have absolutely nothing for you. And I'm like, right, that's where I'm at. This is. Imagine someone that would do perfectly well in like the Pacific Northwest with it raining every day for 30 years and would have no issue at all.
Oh man, it's so funny. Now, do you ever take any of this stuff to the stage? Have you ever like done any readings or just like stand up with the same kind of
you know
theme?
What it all came out here recently, so it's only been out about 3 weeks, and I didn't really have an opportunity to workshop it publicly prior to it, just because we were under lockdown. But I did do a show in Austin where they, I was there as a stand-up, but they knew that I wrote the book, and they invited me to come on a show called Great Night, which is fun. And they invited me to do a couple of readings, and then they were like, do you mind if we just have the other people read it? And it turned into this weird but awesome kind of poetry slam where it was. I'll tell you, Tom, as a comedian, it's great to work on something and then outsource it. Which is what I got to do. Like they would read it, and then I would stand up and take a bow, which is not normally how it works being a comedy writer. I know that you've written on a lot of projects. Yeah. Normally, when your joke lands, they don't like haul the writer out on stage, and everybody gives them applause. So I have done that, and might do it in the future.
That's amazing. That is really cool. That must have been a fun experience. I'm always envious of the way that Sedaris does it, where he'll go out on tour with his stuff, and his tour is actually editing his essays. That just, he's so talented. So then he's gotten to earned the spot where he can go and do that. But man, what a great way to write.
That's brilliant. So he's basically doing the writer's version of an open mic, trying out new jokes, and people love him for it.
Yeah.
Whereas open mics are usually a lot more torturous. Yeah, that guy, I feel like Dave Sedaris and Bill Bryson have really figured things out. Like those are two really funny, smart guys that are beloved and can kind of pick any topic and make it really interesting and funny.
Yeah, pretty amazing. Well,
can I pose a question to you, Tom?
Sure.
So I haven't been out to Los Angeles since I wrote this. If and when I go out there, should I go into hiding? Should I make a beeline to a bookstore and do a reading and see if people throw tomatoes? What would you make?
You should definitely do it. I think you run into some people who have a little who have pride in it and might resist it, but I think those people are few and far between. I think a lot of people
just the mayor.
And it's so funny. I mean, look, if this was just slamming without being super funny, that's kind of our superpower. If they're laughing, it kind of diffuses it. So I think you'll be fine. I mean, how can anybody get mad at the Los Angeles quote unquote river? Everybody knows exactly what you're talking about. You're talking about a concrete strip through the city that we have the nerve to call a river.
Exactly. And I did that intentionally too. I don't like attacking people's character. I don't like making fun of people in general. And so I tried to make the book much more focused on just how hideous I think Los Angeles is, rather than writing a damning diatribe about the horrible people there, because I didn't get to meet them. I was in my apartment. I don't know what they're like.
Yeah, I mean, and you're totally right. I mean, we love food on this program, and we always we have people come in and give us great suggestions of like where to go. And it's like in New York, if someone tells you about a great restaurant, it's going to be on this beautiful street, and it's going to have this whatever. And in LA, you're like, they'll tell you about this 5-star Michelin restaurant in a strip mall next to a tanning salon.
It's ironically next to a Michelin tire, so it's really good for everybody. Yeah, you can just do that and then go.
No joke.
It's in the scuffed hubcap district over by the gravel district.
Oh, so funny. Well, thanks for taking my call and let me catch up. It's really a great book. Los Angeles is Hideous: Poems About an Ugly City. Andrew Heaton. We'll have to hang in LA whenever you come out here.
I will do that. You are now my go-to bail money guy when I am in Southern California. And I am a fan, Tom. This was thrilling to talk to you. Thank you so much.
All right, man. Keep going.
That was awesome. Thank you, Tom. Like I said, I'm flattered, and also I occasionally do a trivia night with Paul Morrissey, who I believe is your co-host.
Ah, nice. Yeah, very cool.
Was so delighted to meet you, and like I said, very flattered. You're a cool guy and a very funny guy, and I was thrilled when Joey mentioned that you deigned to bring me on. Yeah,
very cool. I think Nagin introduced us.
That's right. Yeah. I fucking love Nagin. She is such a great lady. I love going on her show, and she also has a phenomenal ability to go into fraught subjects and be funny and make everybody participating feel welcome. Yeah, which I think is a dying art within the world of political media. So I think she's doing Lord's work, and I'm a big fan of her.
Oh, she's the best. All right, man. Take care of yourself.
You too, Tom. Thanks so much.
Okay, bye.
All right, everybody, that's our big show. Thank you to the Sklar Brothers, Jason and Randy. Go and look them up on social media. Make sure you listen to their podcasts and go catch them live. I guarantee you will have a good time. They're so damn funny. And a thank you to comedian and author Andrew Heaton from Los Angeles is Hideous: Poems About an Ugly City. Fun show. Thank you all for listening. Make sure you go and follow us on social media. Hit me up. Tell me look at my tour. Look at my family reunion tour. See a city that you love and tell me where I should go eat in one of those cities. And if I'm coming to your city, tell me how I can meet you and you can buy me food. How about that? Why should I be the one always doing stuff? Yeah, why don't you take me out for pizza once in a while? All right, thank you all so much for listening. We've got more shows coming up. See you next time.